metres, push 1, train play, platform 1, single, please, platform 1.
You've probably already seen it. Someone would have filmed it, I dare say.
No.
What, they didn't?
No. Have you got a copy of the grand final?
What, no one else filmed it?
No.
Oh, really? Well, they might be.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this year's 2014 Southern Football League Grand Final.
Because Ranella started right, didn't they?
The game started, and Ranella had the ability in that first quarter. They used their experience really, really well from the previous year. They were going for back-to-back premierships, which would have been the first time in their history that would have occurred. And yeah, they came out of the blocks. And if you actually watch the footage, there was a lot of really bad ball handling mistakes by Norlunga that cost them dearly, and Ranella had the ability to make them pay for it. So I think the first, it showed with the scores, it was 6-1 to nothing in the first quarter. But then Norlunga seemed to find, because it was a situation for Norlunga where they'd been such a good side during the year, it was their opportunity. It was going to be their first premiership within 13 years, because they hadn't won one since 2001, I think it was, that they won their last one. So that's a fair gap. And of course, a lot of these players weren't part of it. I think there was only 3 people within the structure of the seniors that were there then. Of course, the coach, Trevor Mitten, the runner, Jody Tassoni, and Booger Schultz.
There was a couple of other guys that were involved as well. Justin Finlay, he was one of the assistant coaches, and Shane Comer, obviously the captain.
Yeah, and with such a young side as well, it took them a little bit of time to settle, whereas Ranella had played in the year before. Their players hadn't changed a lot. There were a couple of new ones in there, but they were able to use that experience to settle themselves down to get that good start. Well, you just saw Shane Comer, the captain, number 32, big ruckman, stalwart of within the Southern Footy League. He's been around Norlunga Football Club for the last 10 or 12 years. He's an icon within the league.
See Shane Comer in there, you know, he's been the lion heart of this football club for such a long time, and he's worked so hard this year. 34 or 5, I don't know how old he is, he's old, not as old as me, but he's done so much work, and the gratification I saw in his face when this happened.
Comer's the Ruckman.
Yeah, she can pick him out because he's the tall.
He's so tall, and I always say, "Where's me Comer?"
Association captain as well over his time there. In the Norlunga side too, you'd see the name of the 2 Mott boys, Tommy and Nick. Tommy the little one and Nick the big tall one. Well, they're the sons of an absolute icon within our league, Jerry Mott, who won, I think, three male medals, has played the most number of association games, is a Hall of Fame member of the Southern Footy League, a player life member of the Southern Footy League. So yeah, that can play, and so can his sons. They're, in fact, I've just heard recently that Nick has been offered to do a summer training with the Adelaide Crows. So can play. And at 6'5", and the agility
So he's in here.
and whatever. Sorry?
And he's in here.
And he's in here, yeah. He's the big, tall...
So now forward.
yeah, just there on the screen, number 21 for Norlunga.
Go for it. Can't walk. Can't walk. I can't watch that.
Who's that?
So that's Nick Mott. He's was saying he's son of Jerry with his brother Tom, and outstanding young prospect in footy. He's just 6'5", runs like the wind, and he's a terrific lad. He's got club history with his parents. And I said to him before the game, both him and Tom, it's about time you stamped your authority. The Motts of today have to stand up, and Jerry can be the legend, and you're the present. And
Play, but he hasn't really.
Oh no, Nick's an outstanding player. Yeah. He's an outstanding. Someone of that height, the way he gets around the ground, his athleticism, the way he tackles. There's not too many that keep up with him, and he's a fantastic kid, absolutely fantastic kid, and he's good from a good family.
And we'll talk a lot more to a lot of Motts probably.
You will be, yeah.
And in fact, Nick captained our under-21 association side that played this year against Kangaroo Island as a curtain raiser to a South Adelaide game.
Yep.
So,
Gee, you would have flogged them.
yeah, we did have a win.
Yes, exactly. So you had two Motts out there.
Oh yeah, that's Tom, the one that the shorter guy with the dreads is Tom, and Nick's a tall bloke with the dreads. Totally different footballers, but both absolute rippers and good at people as you want to meet too.
Yeah.
That's young Tommy Mott there, absolute champion, that kid. Gee, he's tough, good footballer, very, very good footballer.
I believe his family is somewhat strongly associated with the place.
Yeah, very much so. Jerry was a premiership winner with the club, and they've been there forever, and they're just fantastic, great people, and just good supporters around the club. Their two sons are exceptional. Young Nick, the taller one got the height, and one got the exceptional speed on the ground. Both quick, but Nick's, I think, training with the Crows reserve side at the moment, I think. But young Tommy Mott is an absolute fearless. He was probably one of the only guys out there that didn't have some sort of slowing down injury, some sort of injury. He was
played a good game.
Great game.
Played a good first quarter.
Yeah, great.
We just turned the ball over so much in that first quarter. It's still fairly hazy to me, but we just allowed them to use the footy, and they did it so well, and that's why the scoreboard said what it did.
I think I'm watching the quarter now, and I was still, when I was on the sidelines watching this, thinking to myself at the time, "Come on, boys, turn it on, start to turn it on," because I've seen them play so much better.
At what point of the season did they suddenly turn into a really good football team?
About round 3. Really? They started.
What made it happen?
Don't know. I think there was backs to the wall. I think it was more a case of they didn't have anywhere else to go but up, because we were struggling with numbers, and the players all knew that we had to, and they were pretty keen for success.
You must have known when you were building the new side that it was looking all right.
It took time. We didn't think so. We thought we were going to win 3.5 games. And the half game was, would we or wouldn't we? And we weren't. We just built throughout the year, and we had a pretty unorganised year. We had people coming in at different times, and we just kept building and winning games while we were doing that.
How are you winning those games?
We got good character, our footy club. It's got good character, and a lot of our lads are born and bred here, and they are the fabric of what we're doing. And we spoke about that in this room, you know, probably November, about what they mean to this footy club, and they're the ones going to move this forward in the next 10 years. So we always have had that core, and we had to keep topping up to allow these kids to develop. We're talking kids of 20, 21, 22. So we got a good future. So it was a matter of adding those things to it, and we had to change our game style. We had to need some pace, and we gained that, and that really was the strength of our club this year, at our speed.
Who are the guys, like committee-wise, who did the the yards with chasing up guys? You know, the phone calls, the paperwork.
Certainly, our president Terry Finlay. Sorry, I'll take that back. Terry Finlay was an ex-president and does a tremendous amount of work in our footy club. And this year, a fellow called Ronnie McGillick was our president, and he did an outstanding job for our club. In his heart, he wears it on his sleeve, and both of those guys were the instigators of all of this. They knew that we needed some help, and they worked tirelessly, and with the rest of the coaching panel, and there was others around the place. Our whole club digs in. Marty Hocking, you know, was basically and his wife Ange were the foster parents to these young guys come down, and tolerated a lot having people live in their house. So it was a really team effort. There's a lot of people, I can't single them out too much because we're a good club. We're a good club.
So tell me about Ranella.
Playing very well. They played very well. They were more direct than what they were doing. Their intensity with how they were playing was noticeable from the sidelines, and I think that they had their key players that I could see, and I'm thinking, you know, they used them quite regularly all the time, going to the same keys, and we just didn't pick up on that initially. We didn't pick up on that.
But you're not playing badly.
No, we weren't playing badly, but we were. I think there's a lot of stuff going into the game that was really, I believe, on the players' minds. We had Shane Comer, our captain, who was having injections before the game, quarter time, half time, 3/4 time. Had 4 injections just to get his knee on the park. And not that there was any damage that could be done to it, they were just painkillers, painkilling injections. So so that was a bit of a concern going into the game, and you know, he was sort of not part of that first quarter as much. Simon Dean had week before had a really bad shoulder. We actually thought he was playing. I believe he was playing with a cracked collarbone. So he was just dominating the weeks before. A little bit quiet this game, but just so brave. He was in real pain, and he was playing really well.
Simon said was absolutely magnificent this year. He was right there with the best and fairest, won by 1 vote by Mark Ratley, and if 2 players deserved to be in BNF together, Simon was amazing this year.
And he missed out on winning our best and fairest by half a game. He actually came off, I think, at the game we played Marion with a slight hamstring tear, and we didn't want to risk him for the next week.
Obviously not. Yeah.
So we didn't want to run that risk. I think it was Marion, might have been Lonsdale actually, and he came off, and we said, nah, don't put him back on, because we were winning the game quite comfortably at half time. And if he had played that game, he would have won the best and fairest. If he had finished that game, he'd have won the best and fairest.
He was obviously your playmaker.
Oh, he was terrific. I mean, he's such a competitor.
There's another goal coming up.
Oh, I know. Something happened there.
Yes, this umpire down here
has decided that it was touched or something.
Yeah, I reckon it was touched, yeah. Yeah, he's just explaining to the Ranella. You can see the second umpire's explaining to the Ranella player what happened there. Some 50 metres off the ball.
Happy Valley the week before singled him out, or 2 weeks before, sorry, singled him out as a target player because they knew how important it was him. And I pulled him aside before the game and said, this is what we found out, and I'm telling you because I know you can deal with it. And I think he was best player.
He carved him up. Completely.
Carved him up, loved it.
We had Kevy Opperman, and Kev did a hamstring second quarter. He actually continued to play for the whole game. Callum Hudson who works for me, Callum, he pulled a hamstring the week before, up high on the inside. It was big concern about him.
He didn't start the season.
No, he was at West Adelaide, and he was working for Terry, and Terry, we spoke to him, and he said, "Oh no, I want to keep going at West. He's give it a try, you know." But he was only playing reserves, and then I spoke to West Adelaide. I've got a couple of mates down there, and they said, "Oh look, we can, if he's not playing, we'll release him and come and play Norlunga." So it was basically right up to the last game of the year that he qualified to play in the finals.
General soreness, you know, with our top players was a big concern, because Mark Radley had previously just come off broken ribs or cracked ribs, and because he's a track rider, so he doesn't get any rest. He's riding 15, 16 horses every morning, and tough as nails.
Mark came to the club this year. We'd lost a lot of players. You know, we'd lost 27 players from our club, and our last finals game against Morpeth Vale Aldinga last year, 14 of those players that played A grade didn't start the year with us. So we have a total rebuild.
So I got a bit of a contact through my brother down at Morpheville Racecourse with Mark Ratley. So I'm down there watching the slow racehorse of mine, and the brother said, "Won't you have a chat with him?" He said, "He might want to play again." So I waited till after the session was over, and I went down and caught up with him. And, "Oh, Ronnie, I haven't played for 3 years, and I don't know, and Happy Valley have been chasing me ever since I come back from Darwin." And I said, "Oh, well, look, let's sit down and I'll make you an offer and see what you think." And I think the following Saturday I went down and caught up with him. And I said, "What do you reckon?" He said, "Yeah, I might give it a go. I said, "All right, I'll keep coming down and keep an on you." Anyhow, that's how Mark Ratley came to come to the club.
And Mark was the first person that had signed on to our club and hadn't played for a number of years. And
At all?
At all, no, not at all. He played league football for West Adelaide, and I met him the first night when he came, and very quiet guy. And his first training session, he couldn't even kick, I didn't think. I say, "Mate, let's get back to the basics." And then the first trial game, I saw him play. I knew that I had a quality player on board, and he won our best and fairest this year by 1 vote over Simon Dean. And for me, they both were massive contributors to our team. And Mark is just a brilliant footballer.
Very, very strong, very powerful. A lot of the other guys, you know, we had a lot of injury going into that game that was people didn't know about. You keep it pretty quiet.
Oh, yes, you would.
You know, and I was one of the sports trainers there, and I'm probably more of the, you know, get on with it, boys, and we'll see how you turn up afterwards, because you're not going to stop at a grand final. No. Now you put them on. We had young Chris Minns, who works for me as well. He's just had his knee all cleaned out, and he had torn cartilage in his knee, and for about 5 weeks prior to that, and he'd been struggling. But you know, they're all going through a lot of pain, and Chris is a dynamic player. You know, when he breaks loose, it is extremely exciting to see him running through.
Minzy's a line breaker, you know. I mean, obviously coming back from a bit of a knee problem halfway during the year, you know, he had an operation and clean out and what, etc., you know, to come back and play the last few games for us was probably, you know, it was a bonus for us, you know, because we knew what sort of player he was, and, you know, like I said, he was probably lost a bit of his speed and power, but still, you know, he's a line breaker, and he's like a 80-metre player, because he'll carry at 20 and kick at 60, you know, so.
Okay, what happened with your knee anyway?
I got 50% of my cartilage cut out. I had tore my PCL out, and so I wasn't meant to play for the rest of the year.
Really? So how did it feel while you were playing?
Shit.
Good. All right. That's all I wanted to ask you.
Then there was two of our guys, young Goldie and Sammy Carlisle, both had dislocated shoulders, you know, in the weeks before. And young Goldie, another a tough, strong kid. And I think, to be honest, he actually puts his own shoulder back in when they pop. He's got to have an operation, and he drops them back in. So And young Sammy Carlisle got to have some work done on his. You know, they had pushed themselves to the limit all season now because we started the season very sheepishly with the numbers of players. We had 24 players move on from the club. Well, you might have heard this. And then in the pre-season, we had 3 of our young up-and-coming players. There were 2 for full knee recons, 1 with a spiral shin fracture. All 3 kids can play, young guys can play damn good football. So we lost them, so effectively started the season with 27 players out.
And you're shaking your head.
Oh, we were wondering what we were doing wrong.
Tell me about Trev.
No, Trev. No, he's been a boy who's been around the club for a long time.
Yes.
You know, and
yes.
He'd done some wonderful things. He took us to the 2001 grand final.
True.
Yeah, that was special. You know, back in those days, that was special. You know? And then he's been here. He left the club and then come back. Well, I'd say he's been over 5 years. You know, and.
How do you feel about him coming back?
Oh yeah, no, it was always good having him come back.
Because he's a good bloke.
It was, oh yeah, it was always good having him come back. You know, he's a premiership winning coach. You know, and he done very good for the club. You know, a lot of people say we bought the premiership, but then again, you know.
The thing about with Trevor is like he knew a lot of people. You know what I mean? So, and a lot of the blokes that he bought there, that he brought to the club, were friends outside of football as well. You know what I mean? So, I mean, I can rattle off names for you, but...
well, Ronnie McGillick's actually a recruit to Norlunga.
Ronnie was actually...
But not as a player, is
Ronnie was a team manager of Ranella.
As an administrator getting...
Well, he was the team manager of Ranella's side in 2001.
Is that right?
Yes, that's right.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
But that says a bit about people wanting to go to Norlunga.
Great club. Great club.
Soon after that, we were in another 3 grand finals. You know, so you know, the man can certainly do his job. There's no doubt about that. And
so you're talking about 2001.
Yeah,
yeah. And then he comes back this year, and of course you had some diabolical trouble at the start.
Well, we did, mate. We did. I mean, we lost heaps of players. You know, 14, 15 players. You know, something like that. And well, myself, my only feeling was, you know, look, as much as I like Trevor, and he's a top bloke. You know, good club man, great club man. You know. I thought maybe it's time to say goodbye to Trevor and look for someone else. Powers to be decided that wasn't to be the way, and
it was all hearsay. You know, like I don't think it was. Well, Trevor had full support of obviously the committee. You know what I mean?
I thought, well, you know, I'm still a shoe boy. You know, I mean.
Well, you were just looking at the numbers out the field, I guess, and how you were sort of shaping up, or what was the problem?
Yeah, it was. Well, you know, we'd lost so many great players from the club, you know. I mean, whether they were disillusioned by the coach or not, I can't say, you know. I mean, footballers are reluctant to really get into the nitty-gritty of what they talk about.
And Trevor, actually, I was speaking to him about it, he was just shattered, and he just said, you know, if it's me, I'll go.
What, a spiral fracture of the shin's not his fault?
No, but basically, if he said to me in a roundabout sort of way, he said, look, for the benefit of the club, if you think it's me that's causing the exodus of players, then I'll go, because we can't afford it. And I said, no, mate.
You know, I've known Trevor for a long time, mate. The best coach that I've been involved in. He leaves no stone unturned. You know, like he's an absolute winner. He wants to win everything.
He was critical to us being successful, crucial to us being successful.
To Trevor's credit, mate, I don't know what happened. It was like a miracle happening down this football club.
And we said no, so we just slowly over a period of months, myself and Ron McGillick, the current president, and Ronnie's a great mate of mine, and we just worked away and sort of chipped away at it and slowly started to get some players back in, and it started to develop, and then hence also getting the young guys coming down from Darwin through the vice president who had a contact up there, young Marty Hocking, who did a fantastic job with the kids coming down. Him and his family were fantastic. They billeted the kids out, looked after them, were mentors for them. They were fantastic, you know. And kids responded.
45 goals on a wing, that's pretty handy.
Lindsay.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, with young Lindsay Maureen coming down.
Is that something that had been on the cards for a while, or was it simply because you needed players and so everyone's...
It had been talked about in previous years, but because we didn't have a real need for extra players, we didn't pursue it. But once we started, once we started to lose players, we basically said, look, we've just got to gather ourselves together, get the best team on the park that we can. And then we said, well, it sort of forced our hand to actually go. And Marty, to his credit, he booked a ticket, flew up there, because he knew he had contact up there with them and with all the fellas. And 3 of the lads came back down with him. Nathan Daniels, Aaron Daniels and Lindsay Maureen. Lindsay stayed. Nathan's got 3 young kids up there. So he went back, got homesick. Aaron had he had a knee issue and a couple of other injuries, so he went back. He got a bit homesick as well, I think. Because once they're injured, once you get an injury and you're not playing well, you just sort of, okay, let's
really tough,
reassess, get things back on track.
And I get the two, are they Kiwis?
Tiwi Island.
Tiwi Island. Oh God, I didn't want to say black. The two, but they loveliest boys, dark and black as the ace of spades with orange boots. With orange boots. And they are lovely. We went up and even spoke. Was it Lindsay or Henry's family? Henry. We went up and spoke to the family, and they were all grinning and
because just grapes.
It was absolutely wonderful.
It was on the grand final day.
Stressful on grand final.
Their family stuck together.
Yeah, they all sat there together. They'd come over and.
Henry's mother and 2 younger brothers. The Saturday after we made it into the grand final, Sharon was all over Facebook, and we'd heard a whisper from Henry that should they make the grand final, they were going to come down. So Sharon got in touch with me. She said, yep, we're on our way. She said, can you organise some club T-shirts for me? So I said to Sharon, knowing what TV culture's like, I said, would you like Henry's number on the back of the jumper, on the back of the T-shirts? And her reply was, that would be fantastic if you could do that, Marty. And I said, and I'll even get his name put on there for him. So we ordered the T-shirts, and thankfully Benny Nyland, who's a great supporter of the football club, has the business that we get all our T-shirts and clothing through. He managed to knock them up. And about an hour before the game, I saw Sharon Henry's mum, and she came up, she said, have you got the T-shirts? I said, I have. I gave her the bag of T-shirts, she handed the money over, she pulled the T-shirt out and looked at it, and there they were, T-shirt, Kerinaiua, number 12. Well, I thought there was only 4 T-shirts, but somehow I looked down at some stage during the game, and there was 5 of them, so I don't know where the 5th one come from, because we only ordered 4. But there was Henry's mother, 2 of Henry's aunties, and his 2 little brothers, all sitting on the sideline there, and they had Kerinaiua, number 12 on their back, and they were side by side by side by side. And every time either Lindsay or Henry got the ball, they would just erupt.
And there was the other brother and grandma and an uncle and someone else. That was really good that they all.
Young Henry, Kerinaiua, whose dad played for Brisbane Bears. He was living down here, young Henry, and another fantastic kid.
He actually lived with Anne and I for probably the last 2 or 3 months of the year. This year, and mainly because he was living with his grandmother down at Goodwood, and it was a bit too far away.
Long way.
And so I said to him, look, we've got a spare room home if you want to come. Absolutely terrific. My wife took him on, and it was like another son. Like it was amazing. So
a quiet young fella, apparently.
Very quiet, but once you got to talk to him, and of a night time we'd sit down, we'd have tea together. It was like, because it was only Anne and I now, and he'd sit there, and then we'd go in and watch TV together, and we'd start talking, and he'd start to become like part of the family. And So, but as a footballer, he's got a terrific amount of talent, and I think, as far as I know, he's coming back next year to play, and he's up in Darwin at the moment, having a run with young Lindsay with the Tiwi Bombers, I believe. So, but to get those two boys are keen to come back next year, which is pretty good for us.
Oh yeah.
The lads came back down.
It's nothing like a bit of class.
Yeah, exactly.
And he was great mates with the boys from the island, and they got in touch with him. And he said, "Well, if you're playing there, I'm playing there." So we just picked up with young Henry, and he was living locally in Goodwood.
Wow.
And then through another.
And he came in at what stage of the season?
Oh,
just before the season, or
about just before the start of the season. Sorry, just before the start or just after the start. I can't quite remember now. I don't think he started playing till about round 3, round 4.
Well, I used to annoy him because I never knew who Henry or what. Henry's 10 and the other one's 12 or one's 12.
And you were as bad for a while.
But it was a pleasure to watch them.
It
that was
was.
good.
You know, Lindsay won a trophy.
No, I didn't.
On
Did he?
presentation night.
Oh, good on him.
So the Vice President, Marty Hocking, from Norlunga, for 20 odd years lived up in Darwin, and he's been the link between bringing the Aboriginal lads from the Tiwi Islands,
right, that's an interesting story,
down to the Norlunga Footy Club and how they've assimilated.
Yeah, actually, how'd you get the Tiwi Island guys?
Oh, you know, Marty Hocking, as you said, lived in Darwin and had, you know, with his kids too, had played footy with some indigenous lads from up that end, and Marty went up there early this year, and you know, brought 3 fellas back, and look, two didn't make it. The first fella, Aaron, just couldn't adjust to the lifestyle at all, and the older fella, he was a terrific guy, a bit older, and he just missed his family, so he went back mid-season to see his kids, and could play, but just the pull was back to go back home, and Lindsay Maureen stayed for, he just gutted it out for the rest of the season and ended up kicking 45 goals. And you know, what he's done for our footy club has changed a lot of people with the, you know, when you talk about tolerance and understanding, I think we're a better footy club and better individuals because of his presence, no question about that. He's a fantastic guy, very good guy. He's 19 years of age, and he, you know, came away from his family and friends to be in a premiership side.
The boys were...
they did their stuff.
They did their stuff and they did it well. And there was one stage there of the season when the boys went after... Aaron went home early because of his injuries. Nathan went home later on because there were family issues and his fitness was lacking a little bit. And because of what was going on home, he couldn't quite get his mind on the job at hand. So he wasn't able to bring his best. And he came to me one day, we were sitting here, I was out the front doing a bit of work, and he said, "Oh, Uncle, I think I'm going to go back home." And he had tears in his eyes and he was apologising. I said, "Hey, listen, mate, you've got a wife and kids up there on the island. They need you more than we do. No one's going to think any less of you for going home, because at the end of the day, you're doing the right thing by your family." And Nathan's one of the very lucky ones up there. He's got a stable family environment. He's got 3 lovely kids. He's got an adorable wife. And I thought at the start of the season it was a bit risky bringing him down because of the family ties, whereas Aaron and Lindsay had no ties.
So he lives for footy?
Yeah, that's all he does.
So it was easy for them to come down. But I wanted Nathan to come down to more or less act as an anchor. He was the older one, the more mature one, so that when the young fella started playing up, he could say, "Hey, pull your head in," and they'd listen to him. That didn't happen very often, but it did happen on a couple of occasions, but didn't happen very often. And after the 2 went home, I sat down with Lindsay out in the shed one Saturday night, having a few tins after a game of footy, and he was very quiet. We'd had a good win. He was very quiet, but he was alone. And I said to him, I said, "Come on," I said, "Lindsay, I got a funny feeling you're going to tell me that you're going to go home." And he was quiet and he looked down at the ground. And I said to him, "Mate, we're on the verge of something really, really special here." I said, "If you go home and by chance we win a premiership, you're going to regret that for the rest of your days." And the club embraced him, and it did. It still brings a tear to my eye at times when I think about it, because I was a little bit worried about the redneck factor. These are not Indigenous people with city experience. They're true islanders. If they're not kicking the footy around, they're out hunting turtle, they're out hunting dugong, mangrove worms, magpie geese, barramundi, anything they can get their hands on out of the ocean or off the land to feed their family, and that's what they do. Lindsay said to me that night, "No, Uncle, I'm staying here. I promised you I'd come down for the season and I'd stick it out." He goes, "It's going to be hard and I'm going to get lonely." He goes, "But I've got my brother boy Henry here, and together we're gonna take the shoes as far as we can." And both Lindsay and I, we had a moment. We had a few moments throughout the season. Normally when you get a few grogs in you, the tears flow a bit easy. But he had a tear in his eye, and he said, "No." He goes, I'm gonna do this. I made a promise to your uncle, and I'm gonna stick to it because I don't have much more in life but my word. And his word, it meant a lot to him,
So but they're all good kids. And then Wayland became available through a friend of ours, or a friend of Ron McGillick's, a great mate of Ronnie's, who knew Wayland had, because of his work commitments, he was playing and training at Glenelg, but he's in the police force, and he'd basically said, well, he just couldn't commit to. He'd played one game of A grade for Glenelg, and he just couldn't commit to it because of the extensive training sessions and his work commitments and things. So
two big commitments.
It was pretty big. So he said, well, he was looking for a local club, and through a fella called Elijah Ware, who was great mates with Ron, who's another great footballer. Elijah, he's an absolute champion. He came on. He contacted us because Elijah knew that we were looking for players, and Wayland came on board.
I was pretty busy during the winter with work, and I got this phone call from Elijah, and he said, "Do you want a player?" I said, "Oh, we're about 4 or 5 games in." I said, "Who is it?" And he said, "Wayland John." I said, hang on, he's at Glenelg, isn't he played league footy?" He said, "No, not anymore, he just quit." I said, "Oh." So he gives me the number. I rang Wayland, and that's how it was sort of on and off, and then all of a sudden he rang me and said, "I'm on, come and see me, bring me the papers." So I went down. The last job I had was at Coralda Park, and he lives at Oaklands Park. And I rang him and I said, "I'm on my way with the paperwork." He said, "Good, I'm waiting here for you." So it was cold, wet, rotten weather, and but that was another good pickup for us.
And he won the grand final for you.
He was. But actually, I always remember Elijah's words were, "He's a match winner, Ron. This guy is a match winner." And of course, as the history now showing, he was.
Which was great. And of course, all of a sudden, from being 27 players down, we'd picked up, half a dozen, 8, 9 players then that started to come back into us.
And who's that big bloke?
Big Short, the Ruckman? Yeah, Big Shootsy. Real good bloke.
Awesome.
Yeah, powerful, very, very strong. He's had a couple of knee injuries over a couple of seasons. He's come back this year. He did a very, very good pre-season this year, and came back and looked just the goods. Just looked fantastic. The way he was going, he was so much stronger in the legs, so much more powerful, such a powerful runner. And he made a massive difference to us this year, absolutely massive.
Dominating.
Because it takes the pressure off of Shane before us, because Shane's been here, 14 years. And being the only ruckman and one of the key ruckmen within the league for that long. And everyone knew, but with Shootsy there, that took the pressure off of Shane. And having said that, Shootsy was just rucking so well, so powerful that he's just a monster, and it showed. It showed awesome. A lot. Unbelievable. And lucky this year, got him through. Great pre-season, big effort, big weight sessions in his own time, and no injury. So which was
that
great.
is really lucky, because I'll tell you what, he's really significant factor in
Yep.
the shoes being so awesome. I mean, you see his physical presence.
Yeah.
Just to put the contest on there. Even though he probably wasn't, that would have been a pretty amazing mark if he'd taken it. But he's at every contest.
Yeah.
That's within, and because he's pretty quick too.
Yep, he is very fast.
He gets there and he smashes in and makes a contest of it.
And he didn't do that in years gone by, because I think he wasn't really that fit. He was always a big fella.
Yeah.
And so and relied on that, on his height. But this year, being so fit and strong, I mean, he's a very strong young man.
Yeah.
He made a hell of a difference.
Oh. Awesome.
He was critical to us. I mean, every one of those players out there, you love them because they knew they had to put an effort in. And you have all these things, you know, because there were some times, in my mind, the pre-season was the January, December, January, February was really the toughest time for our football club. After that, it was started to develop, because the expectation was, and we just need to finish in the 8. We just need to finish in the 8. You know, let's just finish with some finals football and give the guys a taste, and let's blood a whole heap of our young guys. And then after around 6, it's got, you know what, we can finish. We've got a really good squad here, but we can finish it probably, we'll definitely finish in the 8. And then by the time round 14 came along, you go, mate, we are really vying for a top 1-2 spot here. You know, and we had some games that we had 2 games that we lost, and we weren't good in those games. We weren't good in those games. And one was against Ranella, one was against Flagstaff Hill.
I think Flagstaff Hill really early, I reckon, mate, I actually went on to Sporting Pulse after we won the grand final and had a look at the difference in the names on the team sheet. I think it was probably like about 9 names that were different from Flagstaff Hill. So obviously adding a bit of extra quality into our side made a lick of difference.
Because that was obviously early.
That was real early. That was probably second game of the year. So that was early. So we were still developing. And
what about Ranella?
Ranella, to be honest with you, played him on a shitty oval, like full of mud, and wasn't us. You know, like I said to you before, they play a really good zone footy. They cover the ground pretty good, but yeah, we just couldn't get out. You know, like we won a fair bit of inside footy, but just slogging through the mud all day, and that's why we were, get them on a big deck. We actually tried to get the game moved, but didn't eventuate, which was okay because, mate, we'll play them anywhere.
And it was at Ranella, wasn't it?
And it was at Ranella. Mate, put the game on our way, and we probably would have beaten them. You know, we only lost by, I think it was 13 points or something like that. But we were confident going into a grand final on South Adelaide's ground that we would have Ranella's measure pretty well much.
And both those teams were better than us on the day. But at the end of both those games, in the change rooms, our guys were dirty on themselves because they knew that we were better than that. They were saying that was rubbish. We are so much better. You know, we're better than that. Next time we play them, we're going to beat them. Next time we play them, we did. But it left our B grade, our reserve grade, very depleted which showed by the end of the season. I think we finished 10th in our B grade because we had no depth. But our A grade was a very, very good quality A grade, but had no depth for support coming through. Had a few players. Having said that, then we started playing well. We lost a game against Flagstaff Hill, which was disappointing because I think we had their measure, but they were just on their ground. They were just tougher out the middle than us. But I think that opened up a few eyes with the coaching staff, and they just re-tweaked a few things for the following games. And they knew that we had to fight on. I thought, we had Michael Schutz, now number 24, I think he's played 350 or 60 games, all A grade, never played a B grade game.
Booger. Legend. Yeah, go into battle with him any day of the week. Yeah.
Tough as nails. He came out of retirement because he knew the club was in trouble with numbers. And then he didn't start playing till about round 4. So after round 3, around 4 when Michael came back in, and we'd won one, lost one, I think, something like that. It's just started to grow. All of a sudden there was, Chris Minns is back playing pretty well. Big Nick Mott, unbelievable, can be anything, playing well. And all of a sudden, okay. But we had to keep him on the park.
See, we're just missing tackles like that. I mean, especially Booger, when he lays a tackle, someone's hurting. That was soft tackle, and I bet the next one that he went for was brutal.
Say that to his face. Oh.
Oh. He did throw one, didn't he? Typical. Yeah. I didn't see that before. Yeah. That is a shit decision. I mean, that is one of the ones we talk about. In a tight game, Ruckman.
In front of goal.
What goes on there, you grab the foot, he's tackled, and it's a gimme goal. Not happy. Not happy.
Well, depends on which side of the fence you're looking from.
Well, I wasn't on either.
If it's black and white.
I thought, he didn't have a lot of opportunities.
No.
But great crowd.
Oh, look, it was terrific. And during the course of the day at our grand final, one of the really good things for the Southern Football League was during the day we had probably around 6,000 people that went through the gate.
I wonder if you'll see the hit where I'm knocked out cold.
Yeah.
Free kick. Another free kick.
Good on you, Trev. That number 4.
Look at Sammy here, just dejected. And that's how we all felt at that time. Look at that. Six-1. I was going to say, we're not going to hit 2 targets in a row, are we? It's just not the way we play footy, you know. It was just uncharacteristic the way we played.
What, shithouse?
Shithouse. That was probably a nice way that I was talking on the bench to say shithouse. Geez, nice vision. I've got a feeling he kicks us out in the full. Yep, that's the one he kicked in the full. Again, is anything going to go right today?
That was... Get him, Caudle.
What's this for?
It's a microphone. Just don't touch it. And don't touch your face and don't touch that.
Just hide the black and white.
They never miss a game. But before I became like president, and was the year before, I was sort of assistant treasurer, helping Peter Moon on the committee. And anyhow, I used to get the job of being on the gate. And Molly and Trev's mum used to come through. They used to argue all the time about who's paying and who's not. And I said, "Come on, ladies, what's going on here?" Like,
are they both trying to pay, or both trying
they're both trying to pay.
You're always trying to pay.
Molly's going, "No, it's my time. I'm going to pay. I'm going to pay." Trev's loves going, "No, I'm paying for you."
Grandma's been every game for 5 years watching this team play.
Definitely get him.
And Mum.
Can we stop arguing? Just give me some money.
They're fantastic.
Oh yeah.
They should be on television.
Lovely people. Yeah,
together.
They should be.
And where's this gentleman from? I don't know.
So that's the first.
That's the man. No, that's the guy from Rose
This is quarter time. There's 6 goals, 1 down.
Yeah.
6 goals, 1 down. And this is coming up to the last 60 seconds. So
I was out of that huddle. Like walking out to the huddle and seeing how relaxed Mitts was gave us like a bit of, I don't know, like we were relaxed, like we could tell that Mitts wasn't stressing.
Mate, we had, as a coaching group, we had full belief in our players that we could slowly but surely grind away. You know what I mean? Like as I said to you before, is that we won 19 out of 20 last halves for the year. So the stats show that we're a finishing side, you know, and we were always going to run over the top of Ronaldo, you know, and it just happened to be in the last 10 seconds that we run over him, but you know, slowly but surely, and that was the message coming from Trev, you know, like we just got to slowly just chip away at him, and, you know, the margin was like 37, 24 points at half time, 15 points at 3/4 time, and for us to be within 15 points, we were always going to be coming home like a steam train, you know what I mean?
He knew the boys had it in them, so it was just a bit of a relief going out there, and everyone was calm. The boys put the quarter behind them, knew that wasn't the style of footy that they normally play.
Like if you look at the video, you know, like after half time, none of our ruckmen are on the ground. Nick Mott went into ruck, you know, so that was probably one of the biggest moves of the game. And we brought everyone up around the footy, so all of a sudden Ranella couldn't, you know, they couldn't zone off us. You know, they had to come up with us. And then as soon as we won the footy, we'd just break the space and break, you know, with speed and spread. And mate, we beat them at the spread, basically.
Ronaldo already up and about. The crowd already thought they had it in the bag. And yeah, we just started chipping away at them, started playing our style of footy again. And yeah, it started showing on the scoreboard. We were sitting in the pocket right next to the Ronaldo crowd, and before the first quarter was even over, they were telling us to go home, telling us like as the game even started, and yeah, they were getting carried away.
It was good to get the quarter time, you know, like we obviously played poorly. And a good friend that played in the 2001 Premiership, Danny Nine, also coached our club. And, you know, he said to me in a final a few weeks before that, you know, footy goes for 2 hours. And that rung true to me. And quarter time, there was an hour and a half to go. So I knew this team was capable of doing something, just getting going. And so I knew there was time. It was 6 goals. It wasn't 16 goals. It was 2 goals a quarter. just chip away. You know, I think I think it was 10 goals to 3 after that point in time. And we just had to believe in the way we played. Ranella didn't want us to play the way we played. And they couldn't keep up. And I think it was about 10 minutes into the second quarter and a couple of blokes limped off. And I thought, I reckon we've got you blokes. It's hot today. It's on a big oval when I've got runners that, you know, at my disposal here. And
this is in the second quarter?
Yeah, I knew it was turning then. And, you know, we made some moves on from the coach's bench, and it doesn't matter what we do as coaches. If the players can't pick up the instruction, do it really well, it's a fail. And the credit goes to those players. You know, they just knew they had to grit their teeth and did it.
Big shooter. Yeah, they kicked the first. But I still think they kicked the first under that quarter because we were 7-1.
Yeah. 38 points. We kicked one and then they kicked one straight after.
Oh, I thought they kicked one and then we kicked one.
I remember.
Can you?
Did you kick it?
No, Lindsay kicked it. Lindsay kicked it.
We just need one to get going. I'll score would be. And then they went down like straight after and kicked it.
If he hit a target then it would have been a bit different. There was me and Miller. Yeah. Good Mott dog. Good.
Oh, look.
Great sidestep. There we go.
Here we go. Can't believe the crowd, mate. There's that many shoey crowd there, eh? It's fucking unbelievable. If you fan up there, mate, it's like the whole hill's full.
But it was so important to see.
Hang on, that must be the bit Mizzy's talking about. Who knocked you out and how?
Jason Farrier.
Yeah, a good one? Did you see it coming?
Hey? Oh yeah, I think so. Yeah, it was coming, but I didn't think it was going to go all the way through. But I'm just devastated. Rowdy took me goal.
Because they knew this was sort of meant to be, and you couldn't script this any better. It would look almost like a bloody Disney film, isn't it? The Mighty Ducks or something like that.
The Mighty Shoes.
The Mighty Shoes.
You only have to lead once. And to lead, we didn't lead from first siren to the last. And we hold the cup. It's the only thing you need to do.
That's amazing.
Oh, it was obviously frantic, like being 2 points down, 2 points down with probably about 2 minutes or whatever it was to go, but
Now we get to the exciting part.
1 minute before the final siren.
I didn't even hear the song.
Here we go. Norlunga at this stage are 2 points down. The siren's about to blow. They have the opportunity
Well, Renella's got the opportunity
to shut it down.
But they didn't.
It looks like Ryan Frick with the footy there. Short pass to Shane Bradshaw. We're on about centre wing, I think, in front of the big crowd.
You know, like game over right here, you know.
Ranger, Thomas.
You know, this guy here. He just needed to kick it down the line.
That's it.
Goal
Don't go inside.
When he goes forward and the ball gets chopped off there.
Now this is the moment that fades away in my head. All I remember just saying, be brave boys, we've still got time.
Who's that?
Matty Despot.
Come on, get it moving,
Key
get
position.
it moving.
No, we couldn't lay 2 kicks together here at the start of the game.
Chris Mims.
Oh, shit.
Down to Sammy Miller. Sammy Miller over the top.
Like, we're talking 12 seconds left to play.
Mims has a bounce.
So he shouldn't have got his hair cut.
Kicks the ball forward. Sorry.
Minzy shouldn't have got his hair cut.
Kicks the ball forward.
There's the clock. There's the mark.
Mark by Wayland John cock. He's about 50 metres out. And the siren goes.
Pressure!
So at this stage, Renella are in front by 2 points. And the Renella people have gone crazy, thinking that they've won the game, but there's still a kick after the siren.
Yeah. Lindsay will come in and get it. No, he's trying.
In comes the kick.
Come on!
Left footer.
No way.
Hands up. He knows it. And it's a goal.
Oh, no.
It's a goal and Norlunga win by 4 points.
Look at this celebration.
Absolutely over the top. Here we go. Norlunga's first premiership in 13 years.
Yeah, that was special.
Where were you?
Right there.
Your big mate Mark Rees, he covered. He was ex-president. He was the president of the last Shuey Premiership, 2001, and him and I were real good mates. And he took me down to the game because I had a crook leg, and when that goal went through, all I got was a big bear hug, and he picked me up. You've done it, you little bastard. You go. Looked around. What? It's an over.
So you didn't realise?
No, I never heard the siren. I watched the kick and I thought, oh, that's going to go close. And then I thought, everyone sort of went erupted, and I looked at the missus and go, what the hell's just happened here? And she said, I think you've won.
No one would have thought. Look at that fucking 4 points. It was the first time I've seen it, and I can just remember just running on the oval. I remember watching the kick. It was too far away to see where the ball was, so I was really looking at where the pack was going. Mm-hmm. And they were going to the centre of the goal square, and I remember walking on the oval thinking, we're a chance. And as the goal umpire came back on to the centre of the square, I remember starting to jog, just waiting for him to give the goal signal. And he did, and I lost the plot. I just remember running. I didn't see the players for probably 5 minutes. People ran past me, and I was in a world of my own. Best moment of my life. Seriously, besides my kids.
And me.
And, you know, my wife, and amazing. Yeah, that's cool.
It's so important. The kick was important. The kick was brilliant. The delivery down the line was brilliant. The guys, Minzy, Matty Despot, Sammy Miller. You know, Sammy Miller works for me, and Minzy, and they just 2 peas in a pod. They know how to work. They work together most days, and they obviously football, we talk, and they're great mates, and they're great mates of mine. But they just they just knew where to go. They just knew that last moment. They just knew, no, keep going, keep going, keep going. And I was standing on the sidelines and just watching it, and I watched the turnover, and I thought, oh God, you know, how much time, because you can't tell. And so just go, boys, just go, just go. And Kevy Opperman, outstanding. You know, it's just the way he went about his business just then, and they just moved the ball bit by bit by bit, and they just didn't panic. And what you notice in the footage is that every kick to a play was deliberate, whereas in the first quarter, every kick was a kick, but it wasn't. They didn't find their targets. Every kick on that passage of play found a target. Every kick. So the mental power to do that, when you know that there's just nothing left to go, just go for it. And they were just going, and the concentration levels were just immaculate and fantastic. And they just found it. And then I was thinking, when Wayland took the mark, and he actually got pushed. I thought he got pushed, and I thought, well, he took the mark and got shoved, and I thought, oh, he might get him, you know, might get a 50 out of that. And I thought, oh no, it really wasn't that bad. And I think Wayland had a bit of a shy look at the umpire, as if to say, well, am I going to get, you know, no, take the kick, and the siren went. And I remember dropping, Trevor was in front of me by 3 metres, and I was back by the coach's box. And I remember Trevor throwing his cap on the ground and sort of sitting, hands on knees, standing, bent over, hands on knees. And I sort of was over to the other side looking across, and I was already there doing the same thing, looking at it going, well, we're either going to win by 4 or lose by 1. And when the post started rattling, the ball came in, I thought, gee, that's a good kick. And the post started rattling because they were bouncing in and off the post. The players reacted, and I thought, it's in. And it was just a shock, because I thought we'd just come back from so far down that it didn't matter. You know, like we'd come back from something that was like, oh, it's all over after 25 minutes of football, to, you know what, we've actually won this game after the siren.
Were you over there with everyone at this stage? Or?
Oh, I don't know. Probably started to move over.
Sort of wandering around in a circle over here.
Down this way, you know, and the crowd sort of went past me, and my brother grabbed me, and I've got a good photo of that. And then I don't know what order it was in, and my wife and my kids, my 4 girls, come over, and it was just a great moment. And my mum came over, my grandma.